I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. We have, for the first time, the man behind Midwest Mythos joining us. Really excited for this one, excited about the topic. Happy to have you here. Riley, how are you? Where can they find you?
What's up, brother? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Man, and thank you for coming on my show a few weeks ago, brother. We had a blast there, and I'm excited for what we're going to get into tonight.
Yeah, we did. That was a really good show for people listening. They should go check that out. That went really well. And I really enjoyed talking to you, and that's why we're sitting here today, man. I want to do it again.
It's going to happen, brother. I've been looking forward to this since we put it in the books. I got some good stuff for you, but I mean, you guys can find me anywhere you can type in Midwest Mythos. There ain't nobody like me. There ain't nobody that's got names similar, so it's pretty easy, actually. I got lucky with this one.
You did. It's a good title. It's a good memorable title.
That's why I did alliteration. Everybody remembers alliteration.
You know, I know we can probably go all over the place with this today, right? So I wanted to bring something up real quick because I think we talked cryptids some, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but I'm going to throw this out there for everybody listening, yourself included. I saw some of the best Bigfoot footage I've ever seen ever last a couple of days ago, basically. And it's called the Washita National Forest in Oklahoma. And I even saved a link to it. I was going to put it up on YouTube or on Instagram, actually. And I got up the next morning to do that, went to that link, and it's gone. It was taken off YouTube. I can't find it anywhere.
What?
I can't find it anywhere on the internet. So like, just throwing it out there for people yourself. Did you see it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this week's been so busy for me. I ain't had time to sit down and, look through it, man. Now I'm disappointed that I didn't get to see it.
It's so weird, man. It's like, I kid you not, it is some of the best Bigfoot footage. There's two of them. It's at night. They move. They got the eyes are reflecting. It just, you can see how big they are. It looks like one of those videos it doesn't look AI. It doesn't look hoaxed or faked. And I'm just like, oh man, of course it would be taken down. So anybody out there listening, if you know anything about the Washita National Forest footage, hit me up. Let me know in the comments.
Now that you said the eye shine thing, I did see it. All right. It was just like one of those things I was scrolling and it was late at night and I didn't make a big mental memory of it because I didn't read anything. I just saw it and I was like, that's really, really weird.
It doesn't hit you the first time you see it. It didn't for me. I didn't realize how good it was until I watched it about 4 times. I almost kept scrolling, but I did.
See, now you got me sitting here. I'm gonna regret it the rest of my life.
Yeah, well, we'll see if we can find it. That's why I wanted to put it out there. But what we're gonna do here is, I don't know, we'll see if that fits into the conversation today. I know we're gonna be talking about Michigan today. One of my favorite places to look into. I mean, I think there's so many of these states. There's a list. I'd say I probably have a top 10 at this point, and Michigan's in there for ancient stuff. Ancient stuff, weird stuff, cryptid stuff, all the fun stuff across the boards. I think Michigan has it. And I'd say like Ohio. I think Utah has got some really cool stuff. Anywhere in the Ohio River Valley, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Kentucky, but definitely Michigan.
Oh yeah, man.
And those Great Lakes. I mean,
oh yeah, these Great Lakes are wild, and I'm hoping to blow your mind with some of the stuff with them today, because
yeah,
that's one of the topics that I got prepared for you.
I know, man. All right, let me hit you with something before we get into it. I've got to show you this. I just want to see what you think about this. You might know about this. This is the Norton Mounds in Grand Rapids.
I've been there.
Okay. See, I want to give people a taste of what we're cooking with today, because I'm always telling people on here, they built our cities on top of these mound sites, on top of these ancient civilizations. Grand Rapids built right on top of a mound site. I mean, there's like seven of these. How many of these are left?
Oh, quite a few. Honestly, I didn't even realize they were like. I've walked past them, been past them so many times. I've never actually thought of them as like, oh, obviously like they're mounds, but I didn't think of them as like those mounds. I've kind of just.
I know they look like they could be maybe not burial mounds. These are kind of so I looked into this, man. There used to be 60 mounds right here where this downtown is. And I went and looked in some of the old records and it says that the Irish and the Hollanders, they were like tasked to like clear out the mounds because they were building the city, right? So it says in some of these old records that the Irish people and the Holland people saw a bunch of bones. They saw so many bones that they all quit the job. They got real superstitious. And, like the whole workforce quit. So they had to send these people to work on other streets where there weren't mounds and stuff. And I found all this crazy stuff like this dude, Charles Belknap, he became the mayor at some point. He grew up in the area and then he became the mayor. And he was talking about how they found silver in the mounds and they would take it to the jeweler when they were kids. And the dead bodies they found in here were buried in a sitting position, which is an old Giants thing I found. So it's crazy, man. They had an ancient civilization here before they put this city in. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about with Michigan stuff, right? We'll get into Michigan today. I just want to, you've got Cincinnati's another one. You got that Ohio. It's on the Ohio River. I've talked about it before. There was another mound site, not unlike this, called the Turner Mounds, right where Cincinnati is. Pittsburgh was like this, Nashville was like this, and it just keeps going. So anyway,
It,
that's cool
it,
that you've been here though.
oh yeah, I'm actually supposed to be going up that way here in the next couple months. I got a bunch of family and stuff that lives up there and friends. So next time I'm gonna actually go like walk at these and look at them for what they are next time and see. Who knows? Maybe I'll find something up there. I'll send it your way.
Yeah, bro. I mean, just remember there were 60 of these things at least.
You know,
It, it's got to be like a magical spot.
oh yeah, and it is, and yeah, it is. I got some stuff on that general area, but while we're still talking about mountains, it's wild that because I live in Indiana now. I mean, I'm like 10 minutes away from Michigan still, but my job requires me to drive pretty far and stuff. So I was just driving in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, not too far away from I would say it's within like half an hour of Peru, and we all hear about Peru, Indiana all the time if you listen to any of these podcasts. And I'm talking, it's just woods and cornfields. Houses are a quarter mile apart. And I'm just looking out in this field, and I see this giant mound. And I'm like, that, I know farmers got their stuff out there growing up on a farm myself, but I was like, that's just there. That wasn't made. So
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
it's just weird you brought him up because I was just like, it makes sense.
Well, once you know about them, you start to see them, I think, especially when you live in rural places. And, another place that I failed to mention, another state, is definitely Indiana. They were they were very heavy into that in Indiana, like a lot of sightings and stuff. I've got one other thing I could show you actually, now that we're talking about this. Like there's another picture dealing with these states. And let me see if I can find it real quick. I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but while we're talking about it here, let's see. Because I do think, and man, how about that Peru, Indiana? What a name. That's another thing. Like the names don't lie. So this is something Fritz Zimmerman posted, and he's got markers for giants that had double rows of teeth, giants that had horns, people like who actually had horns, and which is a crazy deep dive, and Neanderthal hybrids. And if you look up into Michigan here, there's a couple spots where the double rows of teeth were found, and it looks like a whatever that marker means. Maybe it was somebody with horns, or it was one of the hybrids. But you can see Indiana as well, Ohio on here, so Illinois.
You know what's so funny too? I'm looking at. I had to pull up a map
Yeah.
of where I was at today.
Do you want to share it?
Uh,
Or I
it
can I can look it
it
up. What is it?
well, it's just right next, like one of those points
Okay.
is right in the area I was at today. It's
Okay. Really?
near, yeah, it's pretty close. That
All
one
right.
that's kind of in the north. I guess I was a little farther than Peru. I thought maybe an hour away from Peru, but yeah,
Well,
by
these things might not be, they might not be, this is a pretty
it,
broad area that these little figurines cover, these
yeah,
icons.
but one of them, the one that is, I guess, almost top of the center, the one that's
Right here?
no
Oh,
in
you're down
Indiana,
here.
yeah, in
Okay.
Indiana, the one that's in that bottom cluster, I
Mm-hmm.
mean the center cluster,
Mm-hmm.
right in there is where I was, about where I was,
Okay.
give or take, 10, 15 minutes. So that's where around where I saw the mounds.
It'd be right in here, right?
Yeah, right in there. On
Yeah.
that bottom one of those three right there, right
Yep.
in there.
Yeah, man, this area is loaded. Indiana, I know a couple guys from Indiana that study this stuff, study mounds and giants and all that. And it is such a hot spot. And it's so close to Michigan, you know. That's the thing. I think just these areas around the Great Lakes in general had a
Well,
lot of crazy ancient activity, like that Michigan Stonehenge and all that, which I don't know if you want to get into that someday.
oh yeah, I got that. That's one of the key figures in some of the stuff I got. But the before we move on, that whole area is the Kankakee River Valley. So
Hmm.
it's all Native American stuff. They got the Tippecanoe State Park and all that stuff in that area too. So there's a rich Native American history, which, you and I know there when it comes to Native Americans and giants, there's a lot of connections
Hmm.
with that kind of stuff. So I mean, seeing this map right now does not surprise me.
Oh, and
Uh,
you know what? I should point out too, this is just very obscure stuff like horns and double rows of teeth.
yeah, that's not including all the.
Right. Exactly, man. That's not include like the maps where they found giant bones are unbelievable.
I believe it. They just dug some up. Think it was in the span of the last 50 years. It could be 5 years ago. It could be 50 years ago. I don't remember off the top of my head, but near Fort Wayne, Indiana,
Mm.
they found some mounds that had giant bones and stuff like that in it.
Hmm.
And one of my buddies was telling me he heard it from somebody else. I mean, that's not something that's going to make national news or anything like that, but it.
Yeah,
I,
I mean, and I know we'll get into this too, but a lot of this stuff that should make national news doesn't, and like that Stonehenge is one of them. It's barely being talked about.
I, I was I was really surprised because when I first started talking about it, I was like, oh, it's a Stonehenge. Everybody's going to know about it because being from Michigan, we all knew it. Like there would be on the local news, like, oh, hey, they just found more pieces of it or something like that. But I assumed everybody had heard about it, so it was pretty hard to figure out that no, nobody actually has heard about this thing
No.
besides a handful of people.
Handful of people. I mean, there's a couple of people who are into like the alternative space who listen to these podcasts. Some of the people who listen to podcasts might know about it, but
Hmm.
outside of that, that's why, man, that's why these shows are so important right now, guys. Like our shows like this we're putting the information out there. I mean, we're doing our best.
Yes, we are.
Uh, yeah, where do you want to kick it off, man?
You know, I think we start big with
Start
the.
big.
Are you familiar? Have you heard of the Lake Michigan Triangle at all?
Just barely fill me in on it.
All right, so I'm gonna start out with like what is the Lake Michigan Triangle? Well, guys, here's your geometry lesson for the day. It's a triangle, but this triangle is the most deadly triangle that I have come across in the world. Everybody talks how big and bad the Bermuda Triangle is. That's an everyday household name. Lake Michigan Triangle got thousands upon thousands more bodies than the Bermuda Triangle, and it's only like a quarter of the size.
Mm.
So it goes from Michigan to Wisconsin. So one of the points is in Ludington, Michigan, not too far away from Grand Rapids. One of them is Manitoba, Wisconsin. It's up there, a little kind of close to Green Bay. It's south of Green Bay, and then Benton Harbor, Michigan. Benton Harbor is the area I was born and raised in,
Okay.
and there's a lot of stuff there that we'll get into here in a bit. But this triangle is home to a lot of unexplainable phenomena,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of similarities with the Lake Bermuda Triangle. There's the planes that go down, the ships that go down, is sightings of UFOs, but more and more people go down than they do in the Bermuda, and it's just wild to me.
Yeah, that's I had never heard that, man. I didn't know that there was a yeah, so essentially this Michigan Triangle has a bigger body count than the most famous triangle, Bermuda Triangle.
Yes, which is also blows me away that nobody ever talked about it. It was just something I came across, reading a book when I was a kid, because I was that weird kid that I'd get books on Bigfoot, aliens, and all that at the school library. And I liked learning local history. I worked at in high school and middle school. I interned at the local like county history museum and stuff like that. And it was through reading some like old newspapers and stuff that they brought it back. So it used to be something that was talked about a lot, and it
Hmm.
kind of fell off until. Or do you know who Josh Gates is? Destination Truth, Expedition Unknown.
Oh yeah.
That
Hmm.
it wasn't until a couple years ago he actually did a episode on Northwest Flight. What's that? I got it. I got the name of it here in my notes somewhere. But basically, while I look up that name, there was this in the 50s. There was this airliner that was going through. It was supposed to make a layover in somewhere in Chicago or Wisconsin. I believe it was in Wisconsin. Yeah, it was in Wisconsin, but they were radioing to Chicago. So it's a little stormy and stuff like that. It's the 50s, but airplanes at this point, World War II and all that stuff happened. Our airplane technology is pretty good at this point. I mean, you can get across the country in a plane with a couple stops. Well, oh, it's Northwest 2501. But so they were flying, everything was going good. Then at 11:15 at night, they heard from they radioed into Chicago. It was like, hey, there's some storms and stuff coming through, but it's not bad, anything like that. So they start going, and then as they're supposed to be arriving in Wisconsin, they hear nothing. So they radio Chicago. Chicago tries to get back to them. No, nothing. They don't get anything. So the plane just disappeared out of nowhere. And they sent a search party out for like the next week. They searched an area bigger than the state of Vermont. Covered it, had ships, everything. Looking all over the place. They could not find this ship anywhere. 58 people just missing. Nothing.
Still to this day, gone. Nothing.
Well, we'll get to that kind
Okay,
of.
go get to that later, bud. I'm just getting
It's
ahead of
weird.
you.
Oh, it's fine. It's weird though.
Okay.
Um. So
Is this by the way, is this the area we're talking about that I have up here?
yes.
Okay. You said Grand Rapids, you said Benton Harbor.
Yep. So like, oh, well, it's Ludington, which is just a little bit north by Muskegon up there. So yeah, Benton Harbor to Manitoba, Wisconsin. So, but yeah, you got the majority of the area here that is
Okay.
popped
It
up.
it it covers this part of the lake though.
Yes. Yeah. That whole like pretty much that whole section. So one of the things I failed to mention is with these triangles and stuff like that. Us as man, we like to put boundaries and perimeters on stuff like that to make things like
Yeah, it's not going to be a perfect triangle. I get
yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, it probably the phenomena extends out of it. It's just all right. This
Hmm.
is where the clusters are, but as we'll find out later, there's phenomena that's happening all over the area, especially in Michigan.
Hmm.
That's 20, 30 miles away from where one of the supposed points are. So I don't think the phenomena is contained to the boundaries that we make. But with
Yeah. I'm gonna
but with
zoom out here. Like this is more because you mentioned Green Bay, right?
Yeah, it's south of Green Bay.
Yeah. So like, do I have it up here now? Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. It covers a good chunk of the lake. I would say it covers almost half the lake.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, and the reality is the phenomena covers the full lake, but the hotspot clusters are this triangle. But
Hmm.
I mean,
But
you're not safe.
it would be Green Bay, Milwaukee's in it, right?
Milwaukee, if you extend the barrier out that we
Okay.
made, yes, yeah. So pretty much
Pretty
a
much. All
lot
right.
of the.
I'm just trying to get a lay of the land here. I'll leave it alone at this point, but I just
Oh,
wanted to see.
oh, you're all good. But yeah,
It's a
so this.
mysterious lake. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, it is. So this plane, they can't find it. They do the whole search party, bigger than Vermont. Don't find anything. Well, there's 58 people, and there. If you have a plane crash, eventually you're going to find debris. You're going to find bodies. You're going to find luggage. You're going to find all that kind of stuff because it's not Lake Superior where everything sinks to the bottom. Lake Michigan is cold, but it's not that cold. So a lot of the time with these crashes, there is debris and stuff. It looks big. It is big, but it's really not that big. You could drive a bass boat across the lake. It's only 60 miles across at like the bottom part.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's open water, but when you have a search party as big as these guys, you're going to find something eventually. Well, it wasn't until about 2017, and I heard about this on the news as it was happening. So 60 something years later, they find all these body parts just start washing up on the beach of South Haven, Michigan.
Six
And
years later.
yeah, and they're
Wow.
like, could this be connected to it? But 60 years later, 60 years in water, body parts ain't gonna last that long. There's plenty of fish out there that'll eat that kind of stuff, and just natural degradation. So this is what I'm thinking, and I'm gonna get a little weird here, guys. Uh, I think maybe they went through a time. I think the plane did crash, but I think they went through like a wormhole or something like that, or a portal, and went through time. And that's why this stuff, because there was no reported plane crash or shipwrecks when the stuff started washing on shore. And
Yeah.
supposedly some of the stuff lined up. So they just put everything in a mass grave. They didn't even bother to look at the stuff. They just mass graved everybody.
And those portals, and I've come to find that these portals, I've studied a few of them, portal locations, they're always near these ancient sites and dolmens, or oftentimes they're near an ancient rock of some sort that's got all this mystical lore.
Oh yeah.
I'm on board with you. I'm on board with you. I like the portal idea.
Well, to back the portal idea, my brother Michael, I've had him on the show a few times. Same area, same grew up in the same. He's older than me, but he's same area and stuff like that. And I, I, I had a UFO. I've had plenty. I live right by Lake Michigan. I've seen plenty of UFOs. I ain't gonna bore you with all that stuff. None of them were like, oh, I saw like gray men or something inside of them.
Okay.
I saw lights. I saw a cluster light zip off. It was cool, but I ain't gonna waste your time with that
That's
right now.
yeah. If you want to get into that, you can at some point. I love a good UFO, and that's the thing. Like, I'm just going to quickly respond to that. Like, some of these UFO encounters and sightings are magical in their own way, in the sense that they're not typical plane lights or helicopter lights.
Hmm.
There are, even if you don't see creatures and like it doesn't dart around in the sky and do all these wild maneuvers, I still think that some of these UFO encounters are worth hearing out. But go ahead, man. Go ahead. I feel you.
Yeah, and side tangent real quick. I know what air traffic looks like. I know what planes and stuff. We got some of the biggest airports in the world. The planes are flying into O'Hare,
Mm.
Midway, South Bend, Detroit, Grand Rapids airports, Benton Harbor airports. So I see hundreds of planes a day.
Yep.
I know what a plane looks like at night. I've seen plenty of them, but a lot of people have experienced, weird light phenomena and stuff like that. You could throw a quarter in a crowd, you'll hit somebody, and chances are they saw a UFO in this area. It, but my buddy Michael, he was sitting on a bluff, the same bluff that I had my experience with, probably 20 years after he had his. But he was telling me on my show that he was sitting there and he was like, there's portals there.
Hmm.
These things are moving in and out through a portal. Now, he's not 100% sure it was a UFO. He thinks it could have been something else too, more spiritual. He think
Hmm.
that it could be a portal like that, like an interdimensional portal. But
Here,
my,
I'll hit you with one real quick. That I've read a case like this. Okay, it was this, and I've talked about it before. It's such a fascinating case that I'll bring it up again. It's called the Russian Wood Goblins, and it's this area of Russia. I think it's very westernmost point of Russia. I don't remember the name of the town, but the town has dolmens out. There are dolmens outside of the town. There's all these sightings of these Bigfoot-like creatures that they call wood goblins. And there's a story that these guys were walking from town back home one night, and they're walking through this little valley where the dolmens are. And they went through some sort of a portal thing and came back through, and 20 years had passed. So, and it's a legitimate story from what I could tell because
yeah,
everybody in this town backs everything up. They're like, yeah, this is just a weird place. These guys disappeared for 20 years and then they showed back up and all of a sudden they're saying that they just left work the same night, kind of
it,
thing.
there was a case of that. Oh, man, we're going everywhere. There was a case like that actually in Grand. It was by Grand Rapids. I forgot his name. Japanese dude. He's out walking, hiking, disappears. 18 months later, he wakes up in a field in I think Pennsylvania. And they're like, well, where you been? We had a funeral and everything for you. He's like, it's only been a couple hours. And they're like, no, it's been 18 months.
It's
He's like,
wild.
it's wild. That stuff happens. But back on this portal thing, my buddy, uh, Caleb, he's been on he is my honorary co-host. He comes on every once in a while. He's been my best friend forever. And one night he called me. Oh, it was almost a year now. Um, he's like, I was sitting on this bluff, same bluff. He's like, I was looking out and I saw this weird light out over the lake. And I tried taking a picture of it, but I couldn't. But then I changed because he's got one of them fancy new Samsung phones that you can change like the light spectrums and what they like capture and stuff like that. And he sent me this picture and it looked like a halo out over the lake. It looked like a port, like the light kind of right over the lake. And it was one of
Yeah,
the, I
man.
was like, bro, that's like confirmation of so many
Yeah.
sightings in this very area.
I know, man. I threw that in the Dolman Wood Goblin story because I think there's something to this. I really do. And I thought about bringing this up earlier, but the whole MH370 thing.
Mhm.
That's possibly an example of a plane going through a portal. Except
Oh,
those people never showed back up, to my knowledge.
as far as I know, no.
Yeah, there's been sightings of people who were thought to be passengers of MH370 on these weird, obscure military bases in the Indian Ocean or something. So they may have survived. They may have went through a portal. The military was able to go in there, and I don't know what happened. I'm not a buff on that case, but there's other things. Geronimo, for instance, the wizard. He was like this esoteric wizard Native American warrior figure.
Mhm.
Well, everybody said Geronimo knew how to use portals. They said he could be one place and then be at another place just moments later. And these places were very far apart. He was so they said he was so in touch with the land that he knew how to navigate the portals and used them for things.
Oh yeah, there's stories in the Bible where stuff like that happens. You can only deny it so much when you look at all these different stories, all these different places from all over the world that had no way of contacting each other, and they have this mythos of somebody knows something and they're able to traverse these lands insanely quick like that. It's wild. Now I do got one more story with the Lake Michigan Triangle with somebody just completely disappearing, and this guy has not been found.
Okay.
So in 1937, the O.S. McFarland, it was coming, it was going through the Great Lakes. gonna drop off Port Washington, Wisconsin. The Captain Donaire, he's done this trek a few times. There's only one real sketchy part of it, and that's the Straits of Mackinac. It's if you ever cross the Mackinac Bridge, you're going through there, and it's 5 miles of pretty torrential water. It moves. It's going in all directions. It ain't easy, and he's the end of April. Well, up near the UP, end of April, you still got ice on the lake. You still got snow. It's pretty cold. So
Oh yeah, we should tell people too that Upper Peninsula up there, it's up in near Canada.
oh yeah,
In
it
fact, the line is right there. The Canadian line is right there.
I used to live in Sault Ste. Marie when I went to college. I went to Lake Superior State, and where that college is, I could look out my dorm window, and there's Canada.
Yeah.
I could,
You hit it with a baseball.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was that close. Well, so Donaire, he's getting through there, and after that, he's like, "All right, I'm gonna take a nap. Wake me up when we get to the port. It's smooth sailing from here." So he tells his first mate, he tells his second mate all this stuff. Okay. He goes in and takes a nap. Well, they start getting in on port, start beating on the door. Nothing. Beat again. Nothing. Hey, has anybody seen Captain? No, he's in there sleeping. Well, they go and retrieve the key, the secondary key. They open the door. There's nobody in there. So here's the thing, though. All there was a tiny little porthole in there. He ain't fitting through there, supposedly. Nobody's seen him. They suspected a mutiny, but, everybody liked him. As far as what I've read, there was no question of a mutiny. Nobody saw him leave because there's cleaners and stuff around there, so they would have seen him. He just disappeared out of nowhere. And the wild part is people, going back to the UFO light phenomenon, people see lights and stuff all over the place. Not in this specific story, but I got a whole list of them from this area. But the two I've said are the wildest. And he, they may have seen some lights or something like that, or at least in the past there's been lights there. So some people speculate, maybe he got abducted or something like that. But I feel like we would have heard in the articles and stuff like that, because this was pretty big news. Oh, we saw lights in the sky. He's gone. The dude just disappeared out of thin air. And if it was just a one-time thing, all right, that's pretty weird. But
They saw lights in the sky that night too?
I don't believe that night, but I know
Oh, okay.
in this general area, lights are seen.
That's where
still,
they're seen often. Okay.
still to this day, yeah.
Yeah.
And if it was like if one person disappeared there, okay, yeah. But just these couple stories that I've shared, people are disappearing all the time. And what's wild about this one, bringing it in now, right around where the Lake Michigan Stonehenge is.
Ah, there it is.
There it is.
I was wondering, man, that thing, there's always strange activity around these stone circles, man. And I don't think they want that one. You tell me what you think, though. I don't think they want this one to be talked about much because they don't want it to be a mastodon carved in that rock either. So if you're familiar, there's the Stonehenge and then there's a big rock that has a mastodon looking creature on it because that pushes back human settlement in the region. For me, that's not a problem. I know people were here. I have strong suspicions that people were here a very long time ago. But the mainstream is still stuck on humans didn't exist alongside mastodons.
Right. And the wildest wrench in their stuff is, well, the Great Lakes are apparently hundreds of thousands of years old. All right, why is this at the... if it was on the edge of the lake, I would say, okay, erosion. Erosion's a big issue in the area. Like, since I was a kid, I've seen probably like 20 feet of a bluff line come in certain areas. Some even more cave in. But this thing's in the middle of the freaking lake, dude.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a great point, man. It's a great point. I've seen a lot of old maps that don't show the Great Lakes. They seem to feature some version of the St. Lawrence River, but they don't necessarily show the Great Lakes. And it's hard to miss those lakes. And I think when you look at like the Perry Reese map or something like that from 1400s, I believe, that's a copy of an older map.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that the Great Lakes weren't there in the 1400s, but at some point they weren't there. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you're copying old maps and passing them down to generations, basically there's a version of an old map out there that shows this land without Great Lakes, and it shows Antarctica without ice. So at some point, something happened, like a deluge or something like that.
Right. And, since me and you had our conversation on my show and you brought up the copper mining and stuff like that, I did a little, I've dug into it a little bit with some of the time I've had. And the 50, what was it? 50,000 tons of copper is just missing out of like Lake Superior and stuff like that. Everybody knows Lake Superior in the North Lake Michigan's where all the copper's at, up in the UP and stuff like that. And I love how you brought up all these old maps only have the St. Lawrence River going through. Obviously, from the Stonehenge, there was civilization here. I think I'm getting ahead of myself, and we'll come back to it later. The area was a mass cult
Hmm.
spot. It was a mass ritual site, and I can get into the now. We'll get into the
Okay.
nowadays tie-ins that back into it.
Yeah, I'm gonna back you up on that. And these weren't like cavemen Neanderthals either. They were brilliant enough to make a stone calendar align with the heavens, and they they had it dialed into where their rituals coincide with things that were happening in the sky.
Right.
And I agree with you. This was there was a big cult over here. There was at least several cults over here.
Now, what if while they were mining and stuff, or whoever, well, I don't know what happened. We don't truly know what happened, but somebody wanted to wash this area away, or maybe it made it easier to mine. So what if they connected to the St. Lawrence Riverway, started Lake Superior, and then erosion or just man making it formed these riverways in order for the Great Lakes to be formed?
Hmm.
I'm just spitballing this. I'm not saying I believe this 110%, but as I was doing some research and stuff, I was thinking about it and I was like, because I was talking to my one buddy about it and he was like, all right, Riley, he's not into all this kind of stuff. He's real big into history,
Hmm.
but I like to throw the alternative history and stuff at him. He's like, where did all the water come from? Well, that's a good question. So I was really looking at it and I was like, well, St. Lawrence Seaway, that's that's fresh water. I believe. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's come from the Hudson Bay and all that kind of stuff. There's a there's a lot of water that can be moved. It's still pretty massive today, but there's enough water for it to move down and form the Great Lakes. Maybe the Hudson Bay was much bigger in the ancient time, and the
Hmm.
water just came down. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so like I've heard people theorize that the Grand Canyon was a mining operation, and that's how it became the Grand Canyon, and then erosion, I think, made it more extensive. And I
Mhm.
could see a situation where this deluge, in the flood of the Bible, that may not have flooded North America as much as it did other places.
Well, I mean, even if it
It
did,
could, I mean, what I'm saying is like it could have like pushed a lot of water down these waterways that were already like the St. Lawrence River may have just been blown out and dumped a bunch of waters into where the Great Lakes are today. Yeah, just
yeah.
throwing it out there.
Oh yeah, and well, in that man, all right, so that makes sense. So in the scriptures, we know at least what they say, the whole world was flooded, even the highest point. Well, North America, yeah, we got our mountains and stuff like that, but the Sierra Nevada Mountain Trail, the Rocky Mountains, all that stuff, those are new mountains. Those are fairly new mountains. But Appalachia are the oldest mountains on the entire planet. So, but America for the most part pretty flat, especially the Midwest where these Great Lakes and stuff are. I think we're only a couple hundred feet above sea level. So let's say the flood did happen. Well, all right, it's going to pile in all these areas, but it makes sense why. I guess in my mind, and sorry if this is like kind of all over the place and not making sense.
No,
The Appalachian Mountains have been wore down so
yeah.
much,
Hmm.
so much compared to everything else.
I agree
Obviously
with
time.
that.
So to me it makes sense. Like that could be less because
They
I'm
have been worn down. I agree with that for sure.
and there's water. I mean, there's signs of water erosion. Yeah, we get rain and stuff like that. Correct me, somebody in the future listening to this, correct me if I'm wrong, but they found, fish skeletons, all that stuff at the top of the Appalachians,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. There at one point it was underwater.
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually a Edgar Casey map. He would have these visions and stuff, and he would write them down. And a lot of his stuff turned out to be true, actually. It's a very interesting story. He was this Christian clairvoyant, and he had this struggle with it because he was a Christian, but he was also channeling all this information sort of in a way. So he had this like struggle with that. But like one of the Edgar Casey maps is interesting because it shows the whole entire interior of the United States covered with water. And what it is so the east bank of that ocean went right up to the Appalachians. So the Appalachians would have been above water, but that would have been like the beach. The Appalachian mountain range would have been the beach of this thing. And then on the west edge of this ocean, the Rockies would have been the beach. And the whole entire middle section was water, according to Edgar Casey.
Well, I I could agree. Why is the Midwest so freaking flat, dude? Why?
Yeah. Yeah,
It
I
it
feel you.
it
Something
it
happened.
it makes sense. Everything, all the way from Pennsylvania, Ohio to Idaho, halfway through Idaho, it's flat. You can see as far as you want to, as long as trees ain't in the way.
Yep.
And then you step on a little hill, you can see over the trees. It's it's
Yeah.
what
I'm gonna see if I can find that map though while we're talking. I might
yeah,
not be able to, but
but the whole the Great Lakes, they're weird, man. And we're just talking about Lake Michigan right now. We could talk about the serpents and stuff that they've like Native American lore and stuff. All the Great Lakes have their giant like horned serpent and stuff like that.
hmm.
And there's something there. I just focus on Lake Michigan because that's where I've been my whole entire life. And besides Lake Superior, it's where the most activity is. I mean, Lake Erie's got the water panther and stuff like that.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah. Here you
but
go. Check this out, man.
all right, let's see
Come back
this.
to that water panther. I'm gonna pull this one up. Oh man. There it is. Okay, so this is kind of a version of what I've seen. The Edgar Casey map. Now
Mhm.
this middle part here, see, look at that right there, dude. That's exactly what we were kind of talking about. Look,
Exactly.
the St. Lawrence comes down, it's blown out, and it goes right into the Great Lakes, and then it comes down, and the Mississippi is extra blown out.
Yeah, man.
Now, this whole middle section here on one of the Edgar Casey maps, according to one of his visions, had all this covered in water. The water went right up and lapped up against this Appalachian mountain range. So, according to him, and then you've got this mountain range right here. So
Right.
all this was underwater, according to Casey, at one point.
Well, I can see that. I mean, obviously we know erosion and stuff's real.
Hmm.
I'm not an erosion denier. So given enough time, yeah, I can see how, especially with that much water moving through, it flattened everything out
Hmm.
to the mountains. I don't think it would take more than a couple thousand years to do.
And also, there was probably a glacier at some point up here
Oh
that
yeah,
they say may have shifted and scraped some of this area flat. No, I'm no expert on that, but I've just heard that brought up before.
oh, it's talked about all the time
Yeah.
up here. Yeah, no, I mean it's pretty. As far as science goes, it's pretty much accepted that's the case for the formation of the Great Lakes in like Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana borders, that massive glacier did come through and just scrape everything away because it's so flat. I can't emphasize enough. It's
And
weirdly flat.
you know what, man? Like if you look at this, imagine this being the case, like this huge waterway cutting up through here, the Mississippi, right? And then you've got this area. The Appalachians now are an island, essentially.
Mhm.
This area right here looks like an island. And there are old maps that feature just this part. Like they call it Antilla.
Hmm.
And it's on some of these old Portuguese maps. The map showed that this was just basically a big old island, and you had entry through the St. Lawrence, or you could come down below and come up through the Mississippi and go up. So I don't know, man. There's something to this, something to
Oh,
it.
oh yeah. It's wild. And one thing, I always forget to mention this until I'm way past it. So Southwest Michigan, around the Benton Harbor area, all Northwest Indiana and stuff like that, is the single hardest place on the entire planet to predict the weather.
Mm.
Weather changes instantaneously over the lake. Once the weather gets halfway over the lake, it could do whatever it wants instantly.
And that's down near Benton Harbor.
Yeah. So we get the stuff called lake effect snow. And that's snow that just decides to form out of nowhere. Chicago might get hit a little bit.
Mm.
The next thing you know, we're getting hit with 40 inches of snow.
So here's Benton Harbor. Whoa, 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 whoa. Benton Harbor's right here.
Yep.
And you got Chicago right, kind of right across the way.
Yeah, like at nighttime on a clear summer's night, oh, really clear any night. It's just more effective during the summer because they got everything on in Chicago. You can see Chicago across the lake.
From Benton Harbor?
Yeah,
Wow.
even more north of it. Yeah, you just look southwest and you see it. It's not even like you gotta squint your eyes to see it. You can just see
Hmm.
it. And during the day, you can see the skyline. If it's clear enough, you'll see the skyline of Chicago.
Wow, man. In Chicago, we talked about this, is that's where they found that Wabansi stone,
Hmm.
right? Right in downtown Chicago, where these seafaring people were stopping and doing ritual sacrifices on an altar because the stone itself was like a giant altar.
And I do believe that's still going to this day too, man. Like, so I'll just bring this up. I wasn't gonna bring it up till later, but while you got the map zoomed in like this, it's actually perfect. So this whole little basin right here, full of crime, full of drugs, human trafficking, drug trafficking, through the roof, going up to Michigan, going up to Wisconsin, all this. It is just an evil, evil place, man. Like you
Mm.
got your nice little spots and stuff, but just once you get to some spots, like just the energy of it, I hate saying energy, but the feel
Yeah.
energy of it is dark. There's all these decrepit, falling apart towns that used to stand like giants to the world. Like Benton Harbor, it is a cesspool now. It is
Hmm.
disgusting. It's falling apart. They're trying to bring it back, but it buildings crumbling around everywhere, crime through the roof, stuff like that. Gary, but like you can see how even 60 years ago, 70 years ago, people would flock from all over the entire world to come to these places.
Hmm.
And so we all know celebrities and stuff love Chicago.
Hmm.
A lot.
I'll throw something in too here. I did this episode with Travis Carpenter, and we were talking about weird stuff in East Tennessee. All these people have commented on, a lot of people in the East Tennessee region have heard this episode now, and they're telling everybody where they're at in the comments. They're like, "Oh, I'm from this town. I'm from this town. I'm from this county," and some of the people are sharing some experiences and everything, and they're saying, something is going on in some of these areas where there's a heavy evil presence there,
Hmm.
and it's in a lot of these areas that had these ancient sites that are now underwater. And
Oh yeah.
in the case of East Tennessee, it's like these are man-made lakes out there. I know of four of them now, four man-made lakes in Tennessee that have ancient sites at the bottom of them. And some of those people were not Native Americans. They were here before them. One of the sites has that we found, they found huge conch shells. Speaking of people having access to the ocean, right, in Tennessee, they found these huge conch shells, and these people were using them as burial coffins for their skulls. They put their skull in the in the conch shell and then bury it. Some sort of a burial ritual. But
What?
yeah, but why would people in Tennessee have these huge shells that you'd have to know the ocean, you have to know where to dive down, where to find these things, and how are you going to get them from Mobile Bay all the way up into Tennessee? Well,
Yeah,
there's something going on with the water.
right.
And these people have these, again, they had these ritual practices sort of tied in with oceanic stuff. And I'm not gonna go too far into this, but I'm starting to think that a lot of our pirate lore today came out of the Phoenicians. Came out. It's real funny because as soon as I said pirate lore came out of the Phoenicians, the thunder outside just went outside the window just now, like a movie or something.
You're
But
onto
for
something.
but for real, man. Yeah.
I believe it, man. And shout out to T Carp, man.
Yeah.
I just me and him just got to hang out in Cave City for a Spiracy Con. He came and hung out with me, Steven from Biblical Hitman, and Doc Brown. We got a little Airbnb, and T Carp came and hung out with us one night. We were talking about you, dude. He's a good dude.
Yeah, yeah, he is, man. I'm so happy I had him on. And yeah, shout out to all those guys. Shout out to Doc and Steven too. That's good company there. But
It,
yeah, man, and thank God, like that episode like struck a chord with some people. And I was reading through the comments, man, because all these people are representing where they're from in Tennessee. And not every place has this evilness to it. That's not
Mhm.
what I'm saying. But there's still a lingering presence over the land that dates back to these older civilizations that we have not been told the truth about. They've been covered up. They're at the bottom of lakes. Here we have one right now that's called we're calling it Michigan Stonehenge. It's under this waterway, and divers found it, and it's just not being talked about, man. It's not being. In fact, I have a picture of it too, so I might as well throw that up. It's just not being talked about.
Right. It
It's
it's I don't know because I've had so many people tell me, Riley, it's just a mammoth kill circle. Because
Oh yeah, I know. I heard that too, and I thought about it. But if this thing is aligned with the stars, as it seems to be, it's got that traditional, almost tactical alignment where it was put in and put where it is with purpose. I
right.
just I think it's more than that too now. And yeah, there's a mastodon on here, but also they say there's a king cobra on this on one of these
Oh,
rocks too.
it's not sharing on the screen.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No, it's still the map.
All right, all right. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up.
I was looking at it and I was like, wait, I just see the lake real quick.
Yeah. But serpents are king cobra serpents are not native to North America either.
No, I mean, especially up north, yeah, give it the climate and stuff like that was probably different, They change all the time. Uh, in, Environments change, but especially up in Michigan, man, we ain't got nothing like that.
Hmm.
No cobra. We got the gardener snake. I think we
Yeah.
got one venomous snake in all of Michigan, and it's some like diamond head or something like that. I'm not even sure. They're so rare up here, it's hardly even talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the chances of it being more than a mammoth kill circle are good. This looks like a Stonehenge to me. I've seen
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of them. They'd all there's other Stonehenges out there that don't look like the one that everybody thinks about, right? With the big blocks and all that. Some of them have these smaller type of stones.
Right, and I'm so glad you brought up the size because it's not as massive as the one in Europe, like height wise. I mean, but it's still something in the height of it. Yeah, give it all I've seen is this image and a couple other ones. So the perspective's a little skewed with the diver, but I mean, I don't know how far away they are from it, but still, it don't look more than maybe 10 feet tall.
Hmm.
I don't know how tall the one
That,
in Europe is, but
I mean, that could be as big as that diver in
yeah,
height.
yeah. So it's not like just the height alone from, my perspective looking at it from images. Mammoth were a lot bigger than 7 to 10 feet tall.
Hmm.
I mean, their teeth, like we find mammoth stuff all the time along Lake Michigan and stuff like that. Like the museum I used to work at, we had mammoth teeth and stuff like that people dug up, and those teeth are well, the tooth is 9 inches tall almost,
Hmm.
and like 4 or 5 inches across. That ain't gonna be no 7 foot elephant looking thing.
People say that there's Michigan megaliths as well. You might have heard this. I've heard about it. It's kind of not talked about as much. It's one of these things where some people from Michigan who go deep into the woods and hike know about it. But they say there are megaliths in the forests of Michigan around the lake as well. People have accounts of going in there and seeing these huge megalithic rocks that are all grown over it. And I don't know if it's a thing and it's just not talked about or what, but there's a lot going on. You got the Michigan artifacts too. They found thousands of artifacts scattered across Michigan. I actually have a documentary on this. Some of those artifacts appear to have came over here by Coptic Christians that have a word for Messiah that's written on the tablets. And they also figure on one side they show Messiah and they even say Yahweh on one of them. And
Huh.
on the other side they have a devilish figure that they called Samael, which is I see that in the old texts all the time. And there's even reference to the doctrine of Sophia that's mentioned. Now, here's the thing. These are like ancient, not really widely known Middle Eastern beliefs that people in America in 1902 couldn't have really known about this stuff. Most people over here in the 1900s didn't know about the doctrine of Sophia and Samael and all that.
They,
So,
they had the basic scriptures. I mean, when they came,
right.
you know what the biggest book in the world was besides the Bible back, like, let's take it back even to 17, 1600s and stuff like that. It was Pilgrim's Progress,
Yeah.
which all Pilgrim's Progress is an allegory to what's in the Bible.
Hmm.
So, yeah, like you're saying, like all these, like, I don't want to say isolated doctrines and stuff like this, like the extracurriculars.
Hmm.
You know, these people probably weren't familiar with. Most of them couldn't even read.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm with you, man. There's all kinds of reasons why uh, this doesn't make sense for the people who found it, or the people who essentially found it to be the hoaxers, right?
Hmm.
Not thousands of artifacts to have these very, very peculiar, very specific niche words on them and doctrines.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you were bringing up the megaliths, the first thing that popped in my head, are you familiar with Castle Rock?
Hmm.
It's up in the UP. It's like right after you cross the Mackinac Bridge.
Don't know, man. Tell me about it.
It's just this big old rock that's standing up, and kind of
Okay.
looks like a castle.
Oh,
It's
really?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's pretty close to the coastline, so I'll give it that. It could be
Yeah.
erosion. But, just while we're talking about it, it was the first, I'm not saying it is, but it's the first thing that popped into my mind. You look at these images of it, and you gotta type it. There's so many Castle Rocks, you gotta type in Castle Rock, Michigan.
Okay. That's not it. Oh, there's one in Colorado. I see what you're saying. All right. All right.
Yeah, but I mean, this giant rock just,
Mm,
there's no, like, nothing as high as it surrounding it.
right. Yeah, that's interesting, man. Yeah.
And it's right on the water.
It gets interesting too when you get into some of these petroglyphs up here too that aren't talked about either. There's lake monster petroglyphs up in this region. You've got dinosaur and lake monster petroglyphs in on the Canada side of Lake Superior there.
Y- Yeah.
And Agawa Bay has one too. That one's interesting. I'll pull that one up here in a minute. There's that little passageway that gets you from Lake Michigan up into Lake Superior.
Yeah, the
Once you once you get to Lake Superior where it opens up, that's where Agawa Bay is. And not far from there are pictographs of a lake monster, and the lake monster is guiding a canoe full of natives in this picture. And the local legend is that they were the Native Americans, again, very in touch with the land, very in touch with the earth. And this monster actually helped them navigate the rough seas during a storm because you live there. Those waters, it can become very turbulent, very disastrous real quick.
oh yeah, on the snap of a finger.
Hmm.
There a lot of the time there's no sign to it. Usually, and I've witnessed this so many times. You could just be sitting out on the lake, out by the pier fishing or something like that. You look over, the sky just is instantly black.
Mm.
There'll be water spouts and all that kind of stuff out over the lake. It's wild. It's almost unnatural. But I mean, it's not. But it's supernaturally natural. It's just weird, dude. There's nothing like it. I tell people all the time, before you die, you got to come up to the Great Lakes. Don't ma
Nice.
don't matter which one. Lake Michigan's nice. If you want to go to Lake Michigan, let me know. I'll tell you all the places to go. I've been pretty much all of them.
So,
Lake Superior, all that kind of stuff.
yeah, man. So here's your northern point of Michigan right here.
Yep,
And then here's the little passageway up into Lake Superior. And right when this opens up, this is where the dinosaur, or lake monster, I should say, lake monster petroglyphs are.
yeah,
So, and this is where all that copper mining was taking place, right up here. Um, in northern, let me see if I can find it. Where's Isle Royale at?
north. It's on the other side of the UP.
Oh, okay.
It's almost Canada.
Yeah, I'll find it in a minute. So, but anyway, like this region, we're still talking about the same region here, is my point.
Right.
You've got people copper mining and seeing lake monsters. Just the cryptid stuff is just off the charts, man.
Right. And I like to joke about because on Lake Erie, there's a sea monster known as Bessie. You know,
Hmm.
so shout out to my boy Michael Thompson. He's got this series called the Winslow Hoffner series. Um, and it takes place up in Nova Scotia, but the main character travels down to Lake Michigan, I mean Lake Erie, to fish a tournament, and his boat gets slammed by Bessie. Well, I used to fish high school tournaments when I was younger, and we were fishing the state tournament out on Lake Erie. The water was glass, brother, straight glass. We're ripping this bass boat 70-mile-an-hour plus, just ripping it across the lake because our spot was an hour and a half south from where we launched out of that we were going to go. Out of nowhere, we hit. We think it was a wave, but I joke and say, "Oh, I got hit by Bessie, dude." Boat shoots up in the air, shoots down in the water, shoots up in the air, shoots down in the water. Like we almost died. I karate chopped, $300 worth of fishing poles. We lost about $3,000 worth of fishing poles. My buddy's dad just bought it brand new. It was over $10,000 troll motor. Like the week before we went out there, broke that. Like we hit something, and
Mm.
it messed us up good. Like me and my buddy was sitting in the center seat. I had the windshield in front of me, so my head smashed through the in the windshield.
Oh,
Uh,
dude.
but me and my buddy's dad grabbed hands and kept my buddy Matt in the center from flying out everywhere. But
Hmm.
we joke that we hit Bessie.
Yeah.
So, but stuff like that happen. There's lore and stuff like that that happens out there. They got the water panther, which I mentioned earlier. This panther-like, fish-like hybrid, and that's just not in Lake. I mean, it is Lake Erie, not just in Michigan. They talk about that. That's the whole Ohio region too. That this is very prominent. There's petroglyphs of it, all this kind of stuff. I think there's a whole museum dedicated to it too. It's just wild, man. The
Yeah.
the lore
Well,
of all these
here's
cryptids and stuff. Yeah.
right. Here's that Isle Royal where the copper mining was the 50 or 500 tons, 1,000 tons of copper is missing from here. And look, they got a place there called Wendigo.
Yeah.
Tell you,
Dude,
it's like some of these ancient mystery people go hand in hand with some of this really weird occult cultic lore.
oh yeah. And one thing Michigan does not lack that I people feel that I don't think there's a more paranormal state than Michigan when it comes to ghosts and stuff like that. Every lighthouse has a ghost story. And it's funny, everywhere along the water has ghost stories. You can go into any town. All right, what's your ghost story? And they'll sit there and they'll tell you 20 of them.
Mm,
I got so many books just on local lighthouse ghosts and stuff like that. Cryptids of the lighthouses and all this kind of crazy stuff. It's wild how much of it's there.
yeah.
And we ain't even touched on the land cryptids of Michigan, man.
Let's go. You ready to do that?
If you are,
Yeah, let's do it, man.
I, I'm gonna start with the big one, man. All right. Everybody been talking about Dog Man down in Tennessee. Everybody's talking about Dog Man down south. But the first Dog Man encounter happened in my state of Michigan. And that's why we're the Dog Man state. There's so many sightings, and they, I'm not gonna say all of them because my wife had one in Lower Michigan, not a couple months back. But a lot of them take place in the Manistee National Forest. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Manistee National Forest, but if you dig deep enough into cryptids and stuff like that, it's going to come up eventually. And it's not too far away from the Ludington, Grand Rapids Point, like that area of the Lake Michigan Triangle. That's why I say these boundaries extend past where we put them.
Hmm.
One of the biggest Dogman stories that there is. Are you familiar with the Joe Barger story?
Maybe.
So,
But you could tell me though. I don't remember that name.
so Joe Barger was a truck driver. He was driving through the Manistee National Forest one day. He was changing his tire or something like that. And he kept on hearing these weird noises in the woods. And he sees this big black figure. Now, I'm just going off memory, but like I can't remember if he saw it while he was changing the tire, but long story short, he gets in his truck and it's being chased by this werewolf looking thing. And it jumps up on the side of his truck on the passenger window and it's trying to get it, shoots it in the face and drops it.
Mm.
Like this thing's tearing up his truck, shoots it in the face and drops it. Goes back to look at it. Bunch of black vans pull up, tell him, "You didn't see nothing. Don't talk about this." And people talk about the story like, "Oh, he's making it up," all this kind of stuff. I haven't personally talked to him yet. I'm working on it. But once you know his story with it, the dude lost everything because of it. He thought he was going crazy. His wife and everybody left him. He lost his job, I'm pretty sure. Like it ruined his life. Why would you make up a story like that to lose everything and be known as this crazy kook man who shot a werewolf? But people see those things all the time.
And another thing, it's like, was the whatever that was it tagged? Because I've heard stories like that before where somebody will hit one with a semi truck or something. And I'm thinking about Bigfoot stories right now, but same difference where it's like these people show up very quickly in these black SUVs.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how did they know to get there? How'd they know that he had just shot this thing? Maybe they had a tag on it and they were watching it or something.
Well, me and Drewski have talked about this a lot. Um, and there's some military bases, National Guard, all that kind of stuff up in the area. Like I'm pretty sure this area is where they're doing those tests, like them hybrids and all that kind of stuff, or they're just capturing them because it's not just Dogman in this area. It's Sasquatch too. All kinds of other weird things people are like these woods are so dangerous, and I know people that just go up there and camp. hang out all the time, sleep out in the middle of the woods in a tent. And I'm like, oh, if only you knew the stories
Hmm.
that came out of here. Um,
You say your wife had one?
yes, down down near the. It was by. It's funny. It's not too far away from a power plant.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, she was driving down the road and she saw this thing in the middle of the road. She thought it was a deer, but then she got closer and it was like translucent, but it looked at her and it looked like this big black wolf. And it had red eyes and they just looked at she said she started crying and stuff. And she called me and she was like, "Hey babe, you're never gonna believe what just happened." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "You know that thing Dog Man that you always talk about? Like what's it look like?" And I had my Cryptids of the Corn shirt on at the time that had they did a design with some dog men around a train car and stuff like that. And she got home and I showed her the shirt and she's like, "That's what I saw, except they were translucent."
Whoa.
Yeah, like she could see through it.
Yeah.
It was like smoky.
Wow, man, that's wild. So, all right, so where she was driving and she just
Yeah, it
this
was on
thing
the it was on
popped up.
it was on I-94. Now there's a state park in the area. Well, Warren Woods, Warren Dunes, all that area. Uh, there's all kinds of state parks around there, and then just south in Indiana, once you get by like Michigan City and stuff like that, there's a national forest, Indiana Dunes National, not national forest, national park, Indian. Yeah, so it's weird. It's the area is just really weird. There's all sorts of Bigfoot sightings. Me and my buddy had this weird encounter with a creature out behind the woods of our house that we were living in. The thing was screeching and stuff like that,
Mm.
screaming.
Were you
I
out? Were you out Bigfooting or just hanging out?
All right, I'll tell you the story. You're getting an encounter story out of me.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll say this because when I was on your show, I told you one of my encounter stories, and like I'm just bringing it up now because that was a national park.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah,
Hmm.
but we so I'm a gamer, man. I stay up late on the weekends. I play games, and I wasn't married at this point, so this was like 2 3 years ago now. Uh, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was working second shift and all that, so I stayed up till like 6 in the morning. But my buddy, he stayed up late. We had fires every night during the weekends, but I just wanted to play games this night, so I'm sitting inside playing games, and he comes beating at my door at 2 in the morning. I'm like, "Boy, what you doing?" He's like, "Riley, Skinwalker," and I was like, "What?" He's like, "I don't know what else to call it. I'm just gonna call it that." But he's like, "Get your gun. We're going outside right now." And I was like, "Hold up, hold up." I was like, "It's gonna take a lot for me to, quit this game right now because I'm gonna get like a week long ban if I if I quit right now." He's like, "All right, I'm sitting by the fire. I hear these coyotes yipping. We got coyotes all over the place out here, thousands of them. So we hear them all the time." And he was like, "I heard one yipping, then I heard one cry out in pain." He's a big old hunter, so he knows all this stuff. He knows all the calls, everything in the area. And he's like, "I heard it, then I heard this weird noise, like," and I'll try to mimic it the best I can because I eventually heard it later on. But it was like but like scream, and then it would, but this coyote's yipping in pain and stuff like that. Like something's
Mm.
killing it. Like all the others are gone, so it's just this one. It's not like they're attacking something because they do tend to pack together one during that. No, all of them disappear. So I'm like, bro, all right, I got my pistol, I got my flashlight. He got his rifle and flashlight, and we went out the gate because it was a couple acres, but then it's forest and then a swamp back, go back a bunch of acres. So we open the gate and we go out into the woods, and we just barely get past the gate, and we're shining our lights. And there's this tree stump that's about 4 feet tall. I see blue eye shine, and I'm like, "Bro, you see that?" He's on it. He's like, "Yeah." Eventually, he said he saw the normal color eye shine, but I saw blue. But I was also hitting it directly on, and it's a foggy out, the dew and all that. It's August. And I'm like, bro, you see that? He's like, yeah. And then we start scanning around because I'm like, what if there's more, of whatever this thing is? So I scan to the left, he scans to the right, and he don't see anything on his side. But as I'm scanning back, I see this thing walking off towards the swamp area, and all I can see because it was misty and stuff like foggy, yeah, foggy.
Hmm.
I can only see the eye shine and like kind of like I don't even want to say a silhouette, but I could see the eyes up. And that thing was probably about 6'4". It was taller than me. And that thing
Man.
was, I was like, what was that? And,
Yeah.
a couple weeks later, I get home from work about 2, 3 in the morning, and we have floodlights that covered the whole yard except for where the pole barn was. And there's this corner that's just pitch black. And I hear that from around the corner. I'm a big boy, dude. My big self was sprinting to the door like I was a little kid, man. I was so scared.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was something out there. And,
Yeah.
we, because we were always out there, we saw orbs and stuff. We heard screams one time. It was just weird, man. The whole property is just,
Yeah, it's usually like that, man. Or I find that more and more. It's like a lot of these places, you're not just having one weird thing happen. It's not like there's just one one-off creature in the area. There might be, but it always seems like there's other stuff like paranormal, poltergeisty stuff, and like orbs as well. And there seems like there's something physical sometimes out there in the woods making all these weird monster sounds. I've heard it too. In North Carolina, I definitely heard it. Yeah, man. I'm thinking like, man, that story you told me too about like what your wife saw. That is crazy. That had to have like affected her, right? To see something like that, to know that there's a creature that's like somewhat invisible.
yeah. She gets mad whenever I tell the story because she likes to tell it. But, but yeah, it's weird. And she don't necessarily believe in Bigfoot, but she believes in the dogmen for
Hmm.
sure, or something that takes those shapes for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm getting her with the Bigfoot thing, after my recent expedition and stuff like that. Showed her some pictures and stuff that we took out there, and she was like, "Well, ain't nobody making a footprint that big."
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
I have a hard time. I had more of a hard time with Dog Man. Now I'm just kind of like I accept it, right? It's a possibility, and I don't have an issue with werewolves though.
yeah.
I definitely think that that's a thing. And in fact, my I had a youth pastor one time who had this really wild werewolf story, and it was I think that this is like a spiritual thing in a way. This is maybe something that shamans used to be able to do, kind of a thing, or still do. But my youth pastor told this story, and he wasn't a cryptid guy, he wasn't a UFO guy, he was not into any of that stuff. He just had this one weird story, and he told me once, and he was like, at my home church, my pastor was having trouble with a woman in the church. Let me see if I can remember this. I got to think about this because I haven't heard it in all these years. I think what it was the woman was having issues and coming to the pastor, and he didn't know how to help her. That was more like his issue was like, I don't know what to do because what this lady's telling me, I'm not prepared to deal with. And plus I just don't believe her. So, and what she was telling the pastor was that she was a werewolf and that she wanted help in regards to that to take care of it. And the pastor didn't believe her, so she actually asked the pastor to come over to her house a couple of times. She was going to try to, I guess, prove to him that this was a thing, and he didn't do that. So the story goes is that this pastor was in his office late one night at the church, and the office had a door way that led to the outside of the church, to the parking lot. And he's there late and he gets a bang on the door late one night to his office. And he opens up the door, the church parking lot's right there. And there's this woman standing there, but she's in half form. She's turning into a werewolf essentially. And she's like drooling and demonic looking, and she's trying to talk, but she can't really speak because she's at half form.
Hmm.
And the guy closes the door, locks it, stays cooped up in this church all night, waits for the sunrise, and then goes home. And this was my youth pastor's pastor. So my youth pastor's telling me this story now, and he's when he told me that, I was like, I don't know if I can believe that. And the youth pastor, he was like, he's looking at me, and he was just stern as could be, not goofing off at all. He was dead serious. He's like, this is what my pastor told me. He's like, this weird spiritual stuff just happens sometimes. He was stone cold sober about it. He's like, it scared my pastor to death.
I
And
can
ever
imagine.
since I've heard that, I think he told me that story once or twice, right? Maybe twice. I know he told it to me once. And I just never forgot it. And I don't think I did it the best job just now because I haven't thought about it in years, really. But I just remember being like, wow, I think he actually is serious about this. And I started thinking to myself, like, oh, there's something to this werewolf thing. There's something to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's stories of it, you know, all over the world. Cultures that never met each other, and
Hmm.
there's dog-headed people, stories of all that. You go to Marco Polo with the cynocephaly and all that kind of stuff. And I think those are two different. I think werewolf, like people with lycanthropy, and then the cynocephaly are two totally different things. But I'm very big in my faith. Like I'm a Christian, but I'm also aware, like with the good, there's the bad, and God can do so much more than any of these things. But like the enemy, they got this. They can do these kind of things. Like I've always believed werewolves, vampires, all that kind of stuff are real. And I guarantee that we've all come across those people, those creatures, and I in our lives, And I think a lot of the time, unfortunately, like with the lycanthropy kind of thing, like I do think there is like a genetic thing with that. Like some people, the whole teen wolf thing, like some people are just unfortunately born with it.
Yeah, man, I heard that on a documentary once too. There was a lady, I'm pretty sure it was a Small Town Monsters documentary, and they were talking to this lady who owned a metaphysical store, basically like an occult bookstore, essentially,
Hmm.
but with a bunch of spiritual stuff and everything. And so she said that when she started that store up, she had all kinds of crazy encounters with people in there. And she said one of the people who started coming to the store was that coming in there, I think, to looking for help as well, and was looking for books and stuff on the subject, was trying to break a curse. And I think what happened was this person said that they were like plagued with this because it was in their family, like you're saying, like their dad had was a werewolf as well. And so they were born into it, like you're saying. I remember hearing that on that documentary. It's wild.
Right. I think it was. I think I know which one you're talking. I think it was like one of the Rougarou ones that they did
Maybe so.
because I know
Which
that's
I've seen. I haven't seen the Rougarou, right? But I was in New Orleans once, and I was at the New Orleans Zoo, and right at the very furthest point, the last little part of the zoo, like you meander your way to the swamp area, and they got alligators and stuff in there, and they've got like an old, like sort of a swamp shack looking place, and inside of that, they've got an exhibit set up for the Rougarou. and
Well,
it's
that's
got a little plaque and everything. It's like somebody made a model of a Rougarou, a werewolf looking thing. And it's crazy. It's like, wow, this myth is so strong down here. They actually put it in the zoo.
yeah, it's wild, man, and I think that's something that they definitely keep under wraps. I remember, I think the wildest thing I heard, and I don't even know if it's true, but I remember a couple years back there was like this big old episode, controversial episode on the confessionals with this dude out of Indiana. Uh, it was basically like Twilight, but with the werewolves were the main thing. Like all these people with lycanthropy, generational, had their own little pack gang and all that, and rivaling with like the Tennessee ones and stuff. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like thinking, I was like, all right, oh, this guy might be BSing, but then part of me is just like, I mean, if this is a real phenomenon, people like the, I imagine the people that have it know the other people that do,
Hey man, that's
and it's just it's
that's what I've heard too, man. I heard that there was a couple small towns in Indiana where there was I think it was either a werewolf or a vampire problem.
I believe it. It's weird, man. I didn't think about it, but the more I I drive around the state and stuff like that, I notice like I've been starting to notice a lot of like cryptid stuff, like just paraphernalia. Like everybody's got a Bigfoot around like statue at their house, or they got werewolves or something like that, and I'm just like, I wonder why that's so big right here. This is the middle of nowhere. I almost wonder if these people are experiencing stuff. And sometimes like I'll try to get something out of like a person if I'm at their house. I'm like, oh, I see you got all this kind of Bigfoot stuff. Do you believe? Have you
Hmm.
seen one? Because some of these areas, I'm like, all right, it's nothing but farmland and woods. Sometimes I'll see like tree structures, and I'm like, oh yeah, I bet they're out here, and these people are just like don't want to talk about it because farm folk they don't like talking about that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, man. And, there's those people that testified under oath back in the 1700s. Like all those court documents still exist. They said they saw it, they call it a Michigan merman.
Yeah,
I think it's called Mei Gouache. And but these people saw this entity on Pie Island, which is interesting because that Pie Island is not far from that Isle Royale where the copper came from, where they have the Wendigo State Park. They said under oath that they saw this little mer child come out of the water. But I looked into it a little bit more, and some of the accounts they said that it was covered in hair. So I don't know how it got turned into a merman because it sounds like it was like one of these little like a Bigfoot like thing
yeah,
that was just wet, so it looked even weirder than it does dry.
right.
That's Pie Island right up there in that Isle Royale area, Michigan.
All these little islands, man, in Michigan, they all got their weird little stories and little things with them, and it's always either a creature or like a spirit and it's I don't know, man, because the populations of them aren't that big either.
Hmm. What about Beaver Island? You ever heard of that one?
The Beaver Island Mormon King,
Maybe. Well, is that some sort of a cult guy?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Okay.
the Mormon King of Beaver Island, oh
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know too much about it, but yeah, it's
Somebody
there's a
told
whole
me there's some interesting artifacts on that island from an
oh I
ancient culture.
oh I believe it, and I think that's why the Mormons went there.
Hmm. Oh,
Uh,
yeah, that's what they kind of do. Like,
right.
bro, that's such a good point. I think that's why they went to Utah.
Uh-huh.
They knew that there was an ancient civilization there.
Hey,
Like it seemed like Joseph Smith was tapping into that stuff. Like, this whole cult thing, like you're saying, like there used to be a cult here.
mhm.
I think so too. I think there was like a Phoenician type of a cult over here that maybe Joseph Smith was somehow tapping into because he was getting those tablets. He was taking his hat off. He had these seer stones, and he's putting the stones in the hat, and he was putting his head inside the hat and making it dark, so no light could get in. And he's looking at the magic stones, and he was giving all this information, like he had a cell phone in there or something, like he was scrolling through all this ancient information, and it led them. to, and I'm doing a really rough job of the story here, guys, but basically it led them to Utah. And if you look into Utah, that's where all the old timers will tell you that's where the Aztecs were. There's an Aztec kingdom there. And Montezuma hid a bunch of his gold up there.
Yep.
And the Mormons know all about this stuff. How do they know about this stuff?
Why why is there a bunch of Mormons in Mexico, bro, in Central America?
Yeah.
It's so like Paul talks about, I think it's an axe, if a spirit comes to you and talks to you and preaches anything but the gospel, it's not, so it's one of the two religions now that are that, and I'm not gonna say the other one because I don't know if it's a hot topic on YouTube or not, but we all know what it is. An angel came and spoke to somebody out in the desert,
Hmm.
but yeah, so I do think some, like, probably some Nephilim spirit, fallen angel did talk to Joseph Smith and was like, all right, we're gonna kickstart what was washed away, going back to all this being flooded out. They're gonna kickstart it back. They're gonna start bringing this, and they're using the Mormons, man. They're going to all these. Well, I'm not hating on the Mormons at all,
Yeah, that's yeah.
but
Yeah, me
but
neither. Me neither. I
the
definitely want to say that I don't have any problems with the Mormons. I actually want to make sure I do say that.
yeah,
Uh, I've got no issues with you guys. In fact, I actually want to be able to work with some Mormons just on this ancient artifact stuff. They know a lot about it, so I definitely don't want to cause any kind of grounds for saltiness with the Mormons. But you're free to say what you want. You're the guest.
yeah, and I'm in the same boat. There's nothing I'm saying is meant to be disrespectful at all, and I don't think anything I'm saying is,
Yeah.
but
I think that he channeled some sort of an entity, man, and got that information. And it's like, it's on my heart to work with a lot of different people right now. And I think the Mormons are one of them because I'm trying to get to the bottom of this ancient history stuff, and they know a
right,
lot about it. And I just have a feeling that I'm going to have to work with them in the future to
oh,
iron out some of these kinks and stuff. But that being said, I'm not converting to Mormonism. I
yeah,
just, it's like going to work a job. Right? You can work with people who are pagans and work together to get the job done. At the end of the day, you go home
right.
to your respective beliefs.
Exactly. One of the things I want to say about them is they're so pinpointed in where they are. Is like, yeah, you get your Church of Latter-day Saints, but like as far as like the communes and stuff like that, they're pinpointed on these specific areas: Utah, Central America, Mexico, Beaver Island. And I know there's more and more all over the country. It's I don't think that Mormonism's in the East at all, hardly, if any. But over here in the old world being the new world,
Oh yeah,
North, they're in very specific locations. So I think you're onto something with the artifacts and stuff like that. Like
you too, man.
they're in these places now. I think I'm gonna do some research into Beaver Island, man.
Okay,
You're
yeah,
going
man.
up.
I could talk to you about it after the show today too, because I found something. I have to go back and look it up. I wanted to do something on this at one point because it's really fascinating. There was a guy who was moved out to Beaver Island in the 1800s, I think it was. He was an actor he was from Estonia or Latvia, but he got big as an actor in like Germany. In like, he was doing like plays and stuff like that. And for some reason, this guy ends up moving to Beaver Island in Michigan and becoming a hermit and becomes this monk like figure because he got really into like spiritual stuff. And he was kind of like a mystic. He became like a mystic and he wanted to stay. It's almost like he was led to Beaver Island and he wanted to stay there because there was something spiritual about the place that he wanted to be around, like he wanted to connect to. And this guy, he's got a tomb on Beaver Island to this day. And they revered this guy. Like he wanted to be kind of left alone, but he would see patients, like the townspeople would come to him for healing and stuff like
Hmm.
this. But he was like this big time thespian actor in Europe, not even from the United States. And it's like he was led to Beaver Island. And I've had people on the show tell me there's a pyramid on Beaver Island. that they know about. So we'll talk about it, man. It's a really
Yeah,
cool story, but it's like that's what we're talking about, right? Like this, there's a how do I put this, man? There's like a remnant vibe or feeling or spirit to the land, and it's just real thick in some places over here. It's real thick, and like Utah is a great example, Riley. I was watching a John Levi thing on YouTube once, and he was looking using Google Earth, Google satellite, Google Earth, and was looking at that Salt Lake City.
right.
And you can see there's a grid under that Salt Lake, right at the like the lakeside. There's a grid that goes off into the water. It looks like there was some sort of a big ancient structure there or something.
Huh.
It's pretty wild
I-
stuff, man.
I'll have to look into that.
I mean, that stuff's everywhere over here, though. I mean, I'm just backing up. I think what you're saying, man, about there being these ancient people being over here and they brought their beliefs with them. And this was occult stuff for
Right.
sure.
And I think, and this will probably be what I'm about to say, everybody. This is the start of something that's been kind of a lifelong project, and I'm working on it. It's not done by any means. There's a lot, and there's going to be a lot. There's been a lot of boots on ground, but a lot. There's going to be a lot more. I'm making the connection. So this is kind of just like the you're on take. I'm on taking the seal off the barrel so that you can even get to the top of the barrel of this thing. But with these Colts in Benton Harbor, Michigan, in 1903, a man named Benjamin Pearl and his wife Mary, self-proclaimed prophets from Ohio, decided to establish a colony in Benton Harbor called the Israelite House of David. So, if you're from the area, the House of David is intertwined with so much of the history in the area over the last 130 years almost, and it's wild. So they're a bunch of Jesuits and stuff like that come from Australia, Ohio, and they all came to Michigan because Benton Harbor, Michigan used to be a hub for everybody in the world wanted to be there.
Hmm.
Cherry orchards galore, um, ball houses, all that kind of stuff, everything. They used to have parades that people would come from countries everywhere. There would be seals going down the main street, elephants, all that kind of stuff. Like you're thinking like the grandest parade you can think of, and it's happening going down the street, leading into St. Joseph, right over the river and stuff like that. It still is a beautiful place, like the terrain, everything like that. And if you like history, it's still a beautiful place. It's not a safe place, so I don't suggest going there. There's a couple places that are good, but
It's like you said earlier when we had it up on the map. There's the bottom of the lake, and that what's it called again that you're talking about? What's this town called again?
Benton Harbor.
Yeah, so like Benton Harbor and down into Chicago, that's all just crime ridden now. But you said before, you said not, it wasn't always like that. It was a place that people really wanted to come and spend time at.
Right. And
Yeah.
there's I mean, I'm making not every town along there is awful. There's a lot of real nice tourist towns and stuff like that. There like if you want to take a vacation, there's plenty of safe places to take vacation, but like don't venture too far away is all I'm trying to say cuz don't get too curious or if you do, make sure you're with somebody that knows the area cuz if
Mhm.
you're from the area, you know the areas. But so they decided to come to this town. They could have gone anywhere on the planet, but they decided to come to this town. They believed that by all of them coming together, their inner gathering would usher the birth of the Godchild Shiloh, which if you go to the scriptures, I don't have the scriptures in my notes here, but basically just the Messiah, the second coming of the Messiah. And they believed that they were descendants. No, not even descendants. They believe they are the one of the lost tribes of Israel, which blew me away when I was looking into this because I've looked in the House of David forever, A lot of my older family, they used to hang out there and all the time. And we'll get into that. Like it's one of those two sides of a coin stories. There's a lot with it. There's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. But just like setting it up, they were like they were a cult. And people didn't realize that, but you start thinking about the lost tribes and all the stuff tied to the lost tribes. Not a lot of good stuff with it. But they, the people that came in, they were in sex segregated houses. Everybody was supposed to be celibate. They were all pacifist and all vegetarians. Just some little information to share out there. It's not super important. I mean, the sex segregated houses are and the celibacy. So every member of the cult, they were all given property. No, sorry. If they owned property, they had to give it to King Ben
Right.
for the greater good. All their money they had to give to King Ben. So what they decided to do is they gave it a name. They called it Eden. They were trying to make a new Eden. So what they would do is they had all the everything going, and by doing all their stuff, they were supposed to bring you know, they really believed that by coming together and giving all their stuff to the one dude, that they were gonna make Jesus come back.
Mm.
So they didn't close themselves off from the world. They figured, oh, let's make some money out of this. So they set up a amusement park in 1908, and they called it Eden Springs. It still stands to this day. There's not an amusement park there anymore, but they believed that by setting up this amusement park and enough belief in what they were doing, Jesus would come back and turn this amusement park into the new Eden in Benton Harbor, Michigan. And people flocked from all over the world, dude. It wasn't just a couple people. Hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world came to usher in, a new Eden. So they had a bunch of sorry. I said,
were they even Jewish in any type of way?
they were. It's weird.
Are they like Scots Irish and they're saying like we're Jews or
they were Christians, but they thought they were. It's one of those weird things.
Yeah, no. Well, I know it gets. There's a lot of people out there proclaiming to be parts of the lost tribe. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's one of those, and like I said, like this is just like the wrapper of it. I got a lot more. This is just like what I got that I have written down. Before I say all the deeper, and I'll come back if you want when I have that and give you the full breakdown of this. But like, there's more. I just don't have it written down, and I haven't talked to the right people about it. But
you're good, man. You paint a good picture, man, so far.
So there was all kinds of rules and stuff like that the men weren't allowed to cut their hair so they could be more like Jesus. They had to be celibate because of Jesus. A lot of the stuff's contradictory to what the scriptures say, which it's a common thing with all cults. They get a hold of the people that don't know the scriptures, don't give them the opportunity to read the scriptures. They manipulate the scriptures in order to get what they want. But I truly do believe these guys did think that they were going to usher in something and make a new Eden. But, on the bright side, the cool side of it, the happy side of the coin, before we go back to the dark side, is this place has a big impact on history. Do you like baseball?
Sure.
All right.
No expert.
So
I know about the Freemason origins of it, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and we might have to talk about that, but another time. But they have one of the craziest, most impactful parts of baseball in history. So everybody likes to think of and I'm not taking away from him at all because he did play a major role. Everybody likes to think that Jackie Robinson was the barrier between the MLB and the Negro League, but actually, the people that laid the steps in order for Jackie to be able to do that was the House of David. So they would go around and they would play baseball. They would get the best baseball players from all over the world to join their team, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't have to be associated with the cult. They got special treatment, to draw in the money and stuff like that. But
We
they
should tell people that historically that's what that baseball club was called. Uh, like people are gonna. Some people might not realize that how you use that word just now. That's what
yeah,
they called themselves.
yeah, that's what I had. If there was another name for it,
Yeah.
I would have used it, but that's what it was. Sorry,
Yeah.
I
No,
didn't even think about that.
I
But
mean, no, that's historical, man. What can you do?
yeah, so but what they did was so they would travel all over the world. People wanted to see them because they played a special type of baseball. It was almost like the new trend, like the Savannah Bananas that everybody's on. They know that fun. It's like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. It was kind of stuff like that. They would use super long bats. It'd be fun. Pitch really weird. All this, so people wanted to come watch them. So
Hmm.
eventually, they got to the point that they would travel all over the world, not all over the country, and do stuff. Well, there was quite a few places where they refused to play unless they could play against a Negro League team because they thought and believed, hey, they're humans too. They're just as good, if not better, baseball players than a lot of the people in the MLB or whatever it was called back then. Like, so all these towns, especially like down south and stuff like that, where they would not, people wouldn't even go to any of the
It
games.
was like segregated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they would, the House of David would refuse to play unless they could play with his teams.
Mm,
And they got people wanting to go to Negro League games,
mm.
like selling out all over the country. So it was like they started building those steps like, hey, their baseball's just as good.
Hmm.
It's they're people too. And so it was a big
That's
foundational
cool.
step for that. So that's just like I talk I like to add that part in when I talk about this with people because there is a lot of dark stuff behind it, the cult, but there was a lot of good to come out of it too.
Sure.
And there's the most shocking thing I came across is, and people can take this down a whole different rabbit hole. Walt Disney was pretty big into it. He'd come take trips there and hang out.
To
And
Benton Harbor?
yeah,
Really?
because the House of David came up with this amazing thing to draw people into their amusement park. Miniature trains that people
Mm.
could take to drive around Eden Springs. So they'd have all these mini rail systems around, and people would travel just to go to those and ride on those. And
God, this is wild. I've never heard of this.
so they're sitting there, they're hanging out. Well, Walt Disney gets a word of it and was like, I love this. So he buys one of the trains. And now all those at Disneyland, Disney Worlds, all over the world, all those little trains that you ride to get all around the park, that's because of the House of David.
All right.
They did that, and it's
They had it
so.
going on. They had this amusement park thing going on, it sounds like.
Oh yeah. Oh, but wait, there's more. And one of the cool things is, because it's so close to Chicago, during the Prohibition period, people like to hang out still. People still like to have a drink, even though it was illegal. Well, Al Capone was pretty big in Chicago, and he had bootleg kickstands and all that going all the way up into Michigan and stuff like that. Al Capone hung out at Eden Springs and supplied alcohol during the Prohibition. So you got your gangsters, you got Walt Disney, you got all
Wow.
this kind of stuff.
Wow. So that was there like a one of those things where people knew where to go after dark to get some booze?
Yep.
Wow. So it was a tourist destination for sure.
Oh yeah, people went over, and that's what
How
I mean.
about that?
You got all these nice, flashy things.
Hmm.
It kind of makes people want to join your cult.
Right. And I'm thinking too, it's like Disney World today that I mean some of these places have bars. They have the adult drinking around the world thing. It's a perfect way to get to get the adults into the theme park is to have this alcohol component. Yeah, I get it. I get
It's
it.
exactly. So that's the perfect way to get people into your cult.
Yeah.
Well, there's it was all nice, and then King Ben, as all cult leaders do, tended to get a little bit in trouble. Uh, remember how I said sex segregated and celibate?
Yeah, except for him, right?
It was expected that the men should let King Ben have sex with their wives. And King Ben also got involved with some embezzlement too, for all that money. And so it's just so much to it, and I haven't even got to like
Mm.
the witchcraft and stuff like that that takes place because
Oh, were they into that too?
some people had to have been because the
Mm.
area is a hot spot for it to this day still witchcraft, and I'm still making those connections right now. Uh,
Okay.
I like to the actual like people, but it's wild that
Well,
it's this
there's
location.
there's a thought that the Hebrews really did come over here. And some people have suggested that they paired up with the Phoenicians as well to do it. And, some people have brought this point up. It's like First Chronicles 22:14, I think, where you have David's preparations for the temple that would be built by Solomon.
Hmm.
But it mentions the gathering of precious metals that were so abundant that it was like beyond measure. And like among those were bronze, which comes from copper. So we're back at the copper trade being in Michigan, and the thought is that some of the lost 10 tribes or some of the Hebrews, some of the Hebrew nation allied with the Phoenicians at the time because the Phoenicians were so good at sailing the seas and they possibly came over here and mined some of this copper out of Lake Michigan. So long story short, there may have been lost tribe people over here with occultists.
Right.
With occultists.
And it's funny because like I mentioned that they were that claimed they were a lost tribe of Israel. I was just looking through my notes some more, and like no, their whole goal was to bring all the lost tribes together in one location.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So why would they choose this place right on Like I think when you're doing something like that, when you're trying to usher in a new Eden, the location's pretty important where you do it.
Hmm.
Would you not think so?
Hmm.
So I think based off everything that we've been talking about tonight, like there's there's something there at this location.
It's like this just Joseph Smith thing that we talked about, kind of. It's like he got clued in. He knew where to find the stones. They found those tablets up in New York State or something like that. Like very magical place where he found the stones, and then he knew where to do all this other stuff. He was like he was given a location to do it.
Right.
And it was a place where ancient people had been before him, and not just ancient people, but ancient people with cult practices. Yeah.
It it's wild, and some of the stuff that I'm not talking about today, just because I want to make sure everything's like lined up right and I have the sources. Like it's
Yeah, so this
it's
is
lining up.
yeah, so you told me, like I remember you telling me something about this. You said you were looking into a cult that was in your backyard essentially.
Yeah,
It's
and
interesting.
there's there's let's just say there's tunnels everywhere
Mm,
across the county. There's all kinds of stuff, underground hidden treasures and all that kind of stuff involved too. And there's it's just
that's awesome.
everything's just pointing to Lake Michigan is more significant than anybody thinks.
Yeah, man, I think so. I think so. Even looking into some of the mounds, I think early on, like I showed the picture of the Norton Mounds that they literally built Grand Rapids on. And then there's another group of mounds up there called the Niles Mounds that are
Hmm.
super. That was a city. That was an ancient civilization. It talks about how the settlers were baffled when they came across the Niles Mounds. And it just makes me think it's like it's spelled Nile, just like the Nile River.
Right.
So I don't know, man. It's like that was a Cahokia place, like a Newark place. I think there were pockets of Michigan that had ancient cities, man.
Oh, I believe it, man. And it's I'm sitting here and I just Googled, because there's a lot of Native American history, like with the Potawatomi tribe in this area,
Hmm.
and the Poke. And I was like, oh, let me just do some Google search real quick on some mounds in the area. And dude, there's mounds in Benton Harbor.
Really?
I'm seeing. And now I'm like thinking about it, like seeing some of the images. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, there's some in this place too. There's some in this place too. I'm like, it sounds like I need to go back home and get some more boots on ground, man.
Yeah, no, just keep following the rabbit hole, man. You're already on knocking at the door to some very, very significant and interesting stuff, especially once you get the tunnels and the treasure involved, man. I can't wait to hear what all you find. And I think these Great Lakes were just hotspots, man, and they have been for a very long time. And even like Lake Erie, right? There's a place called Sandusky there that came up in my research, right there on the lake. And there were missionaries in Sandusky in the late 1700s who were shown burials of giants. And it was the Native Americans who knew about the graves because the Native Americans were like, "Oh, this is where our ancestors had a war with these giants, and they buried them here in Sandusky." It was the Delaware tribe, Delaware Lenape people. They're like, "We'll show you where the giants are buried in Sandusky," and they took them right to the place and showed them, and they were like, "Yep, we know about this because our ancestors warred with the giants." It's crazy. It's like
It's
there's so many stories like that to do with the Great Lakes. It's great.
and they had to put an amusement park right on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. They always put something on top of it, man. They always try to build their civilizations on these mountain sites.
Yeah. Oh, what? You got the world's fastest roller coaster? I want to know about the giant battle that took place in Sandusky.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at too, man. Yeah. Yeah, this was great, man. Did you want to throw in anything else?
I think, I know we're gonna have more conversations in the future. I think that's a good place
Okay.
to, unless you got anything else you want to talk about.
No, no, I will say this one thing though, just because it just came to mind to do with that story I just told with Sandusky. That was the Delaware people said the giants were part of the Allegheny or Allegheny tribe, which is where we get Allegheny County,
Hmm.
Pennsylvania. Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. It has the Allegheny River there. It's where the Allegheny meets the Ohio. That's where the Cherokee and the Delaware people said that the Allegheny giants lived, and they had a war with them. And some of those giants were buried over in Sandusky up in Lake Erie. And it's interesting because, and I just thought about this. We were talking earlier about those mysterious Michigan megaliths. We got people online claiming to know about megalithic structures in the forests of Allegheny County, Michigan.
Oh yeah. Hey, they got reptilians up there too. Oh yeah, dude.
Something like I like those swamp monster stories, man. Like the what do they call it? Lizard Man. So like
Hmm.
South Carolina Lizard Man and all that.
Oh yeah, man. Oh, there's so many places I gotta go, man, and it's so nice that they're only a couple hours away.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah, you're onto something. You're onto something, man. This is this has been great, man. I'm happy that you were able to come on and show your research. Like that's what this show is about, man. I want people to come on and share their research. If people are serious about researching something and they spend time to do it, like because I know how much time it takes to research subjects. It takes a little bit of dedication, but if somebody's willing to do that and they're on to something, man, bring it on. That's what the show's about. So, um, tell every oh, and everybody go check out that episode I did with Riley over at his show. And with that, tell them where they can find you.
All right, you can find me anywhere. You can type in Midwest Mythos. I'm on all podcast platforms. If you want to find me on the YouTube for the video format of things, it's Midwest Mythos Podcast. Um, yeah, if you guys want to get a hold of me, I got a link tree, linktr.ee/, Midwest Mythos Podcast there. I got a little form at the top that says report an encounter. It ain't got to be an encounter. If you just want to get a hold of me, shoot, it goes straight to my email. Talk there, or my Instagram, Midwest Mythos. That's where I do 99.9% of my talking to people is there. It's so,
Cool.
yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I'll throw in like, yeah, if you find something out there, folks, report it to your local podcaster. Do not never call the Smithsonian.
never.
Just give us a call.
We got you guys.
We got you. Yeah. Okay, man, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll put the links below. His show is Midwest Mythos, and he's got a lot of really good stuff going on over there. So go check it out. As always, break the mold, conquer the realm, and thanks for listening.